So if a few months ago you told me that I would be sat here today psychoanalyzing and diagnosing the hell out of Morty Pokemon, yeah, that probably wouldn't have surprised me. I am so disgustingly obsessed with this horrible man. He is a little jumped up freak. I adore him with every ounce of my being. He has like 3 lines of dialogue in the games, and yet he's like got so many layers and depth to him. And I think about him so much, and Pokemon Masters EX kind of fuels my Morty cellness. So I have compiled every little bit of trivia and every little fact I can find about him, and I am going to analyse the hell out of him. So what is this guy's deal? He's the Ecruteak City gym leader. It's the 4th gym in Johto, and he specialises in the ghost types. He is a clairvoyant, and he gained these powers somehow that isn't even touched upon in the games, which I think is kind of wasted. Apparently he's trained so much that he can just see what others cannot, which goes hard as hell. Why have they not talked about this more? This guy has issues, is what this video is all about. He is a messed up guy. He is so sweet and so lovely, and he is everything, but he is messed up. His team is all Pokemon from the Burnt Tower, which is where he just hangs out all the time, because he's that sort of guy. And he is a clairvoyant. He's super connected to all the supernatural. Obviously, noticeably, the first thing about him is that between the original Gold Silver Games anime and Heart Gold Soul Silver, he had like a huge overhaul in design, and he is kind of like almost a different character at this point. He's been borderline retconned. I love the idea that he's just an ugly teen in Gen 2, because none of the other characters got this kind of overhaul, which is really bizarre to me. You'd think they'd overhaul the whole cast, but it was literally just him that got this big of a treatment. His personality is kind of different now. He has a bit more depth to him. In the Gen 2 anime, he was kind of a dickhead.
You must have seen some other Pokemon.
I know what I saw! Why do you say it must have been some other Pokemon?
Because.
Obviously totally justified on his part. I support his rights and his wrongs. My Morty now would not act like this. Obviously the idea of him having aged between the games doesn't quite add up, because none of the other characters seem to have aged, but it's simultaneously the only explanation for such a drastic difference. Like, he's clearly pushing 30 nowadays, whereas he was kind of just like an angsty mid to late teen back in the day. Obviously someone at Game Freak or at the Pokemon Company just wanted him carnally, which I absolutely respect. They've just made him such a guy ever. His whole shtick, aside from being a clairvoyant who is connected to the ghosts and the folklore of Ecruteak City, is that he wants to be worthy of Ho-Oh's recognition and blessing. And he thinks that the way to go about doing this is constant, intense training. He trains dawn to dusk, it is implied, in the Burnt Tower or elsewhere. And in the games, this is kind of like his whole personality. If he's not at the gym training, he will be at the tower. And I worry about him a little bit. Like, when does he sleep or eat? Like, can he even cook for himself? I have so many questions about what goes on when he's not training. And he thinks that this training is the sole thing that will make Ho-Oh think he's worthy. He thinks it's all about physical strength and power. And he has such a narrow tunnel vision that he can't really grasp anything outside of what he knows. In the games, his only real friend, unfortunately, is Eugene. He's a lad. I do like Eugene, but their friendship is obviously kind of built on the fact that they are both very similar, and the fact that they are both very obsessive over obtaining the legendary Pokemon that they are both respectively interested in. For Morty, Ho-Oh, and for Eugene, it's Suicune. And it feels like their friendship doesn't really have any, I don't know what, depth outside of their like mutual legendary Pokemon obsession. So it's obviously not really the healthiest dynamic for the two of them, because they just kind of encourage each other to get worse. And I don't know, these guys just need to go like have a beer or something. He is very obviously a shut-in, if that wasn't obvious from everything I've talked about so far. All he does is his training. He's obviously got the one friend, and he doesn't really know anything outside of his routine of like the gym, the tower, the mysterious third place that he goes when he's at neither of these places.
First of all, I'll say for the record before we carry on, I hate this boy.
Yeah, he's a messed up little guy. He is kind of socially inept, and this kind of it's really obvious in Masters from some of his dialogue and his side stories. Another really interesting thing about him is that ghosts are just drawn to him, apparently. Like, there's this little throwaway bit of dialogue in Masters that I've always really liked about how he was swarmed with Ghastly, and I just think it's cute that they obviously sense that he's a messed up dude he's on their wavelength, and they all come to him. And he sees dead people. Like, they throw it out there so casually, but there's like so many messed up implications here. He can see actual ghosts. I like to think that the dude outside the Lavender Town like Pokemon graveyard is Morty. I can't think of any other major Pokemon characters who can just straight up see dead people ghosts. He has issues with his pride, and he has some kind of underlying inferiority complex. He doesn't take losing well, as reflected in like a lot of his dialogue in the games. When you beat him in the original Gold Silver games, he says, "I'm still not good enough yet." But then in Heart Gold Soul Silver, interestingly, it's been changed to "How is this possible?" Which again kind of shows that he has grown and aged as a character, which I know doesn't make sense, but it's my personal belief that this is like what they were going for. Back in Gold and Silver, he's still young, he's still training, he's only just starting out, and he thinks, well, I've just lost because I'm not training hard enough, I've still got a way to go. But then obviously Heart Gold Soul Silver, he's like visibly older. Obviously like 10 or so years have passed, and how is this possible? It kind of reflects that he believes he is at his strongest, that he is becoming worthy of Ho-Oh, that he is the one destined to meet Ho-Oh. His dialogue before the battle says something about how he has seen a vision. Yeah, he sees visions of the future. I didn't talk about this, but they've just thrown so much on this poor guy. But yeah, he sees visions of the future, and he tells you that he has seen a shadow of a trainer being chosen by Ho-Oh, and he believes that the vision is him. And he is taking it really personally upon himself when he loses in this game. He definitely feels more entitled to the win and entitled to Ho-Oh because he definitely has a stronger conviction in Gen 4. In the post-game Kanto area of the Johto games, you can actually go and rematch him in the fighting dojo in Saffron City, which is awesome. I actually never got that far in any of the Johto games because I love Johto so much. I would constantly restart the game as a kid. I don't think I ever got past like the 5th gym, just so I could play with a different starter each time. But yeah, so I didn't know you could do this, and when you beat him in the dojo, he says, "I lost again, you may have something that's more than just strength." And this feels like he is starting to grow as a character from what we've seen earlier on in the game. This is awesome. He is starting to realise that by being beaten by you and by seeing you travel and grow, it's not all about the raw strength that he has always believed it is. And this is what I like to believe is the start of his journey of like self-discovery and putting himself out there more. Obviously, his mindset, as I said earlier, is kind of drilled in by only having Eugene around as his friend, and when he begins mixing with new people and having new experiences in Pokemon Masters EX, his personality definitely broadens out, he chills out a bit, he learns so much, and I'm really excited to talk about this now. Pokemon Masters EX, this is a whole wormhole. This is the game that made me fall so in love with him. He is so good in this game. His goal in Pokemon Masters EX is still to be blessed by Ho-Oh, but he has definitely got like a different perspective on it now. He's going about it a whole different way, and it's really interesting watching him go from struggling to understand why he isn't the one in the early games to watching him actually gain the Ho-Oh in Pokemon Masters EX. A bit of dialogue that sticks out to me is that in one of his side stories, he says that by coming to Pazeo, he has had like all these opportunities, and he's had all these new encounters that he would never have had if he hadn't like gotten brave enough to leave Ecruteak City. And he is changing so much as a person in this game, and he's becoming like a lot more friendly. He's got such a sick sense of humor. I love it so much. He is such a dude. Obviously, they kind of put him through it in the Masters games in the run-up to him actually getting Ho-Oh. Like, he has to watch Silver, of all people, get a Ho-Oh before him, bless him. And he doesn't take it too hard from what I remember. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the stories during editing, but I remember him being like, okay, so I just need to learn from Silver instead of like beating himself up over it, which I adore. Earlier I was talking about his like social ineptitude, but I'm gonna show some excellent masters dialogue here. So right off the bat, obviously his whole thing is that he likes talking about people getting killed as like his idea of fun. Like peak comedy to him is, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we went in the murder woods and we got murked? I've got like max friendship with him in the trainer lodge, and his like hangout event is literally him going, hey, there was like this message on my wall written in blood about going to like this haunted forest at 3 a.m. Do you want to come with me? So you just go hang out in the woods with him at 3 a.m. and you see all these ghosts and he's like, ha, watch out, it's gonna fucking kill you. that is his whole character. Is so good. I haven't unlocked the Halloween Morty yet. He's getting a rerun. I've got like 17,000 gems saved up. If I don't get him, I'm gonna go insane. I need Halloween Morty story. Sigma Suit Morty is kind of like the culmination of his whole like character arc and his story. And I am pathetic in the way that I get like my heart kind of like wrenches up and I get tears in my eyes if I think too hard about it. I want to give him such a big hug. He makes me so... I really struggled writing this video. I don't know if you can tell, because my feelings for him are incomprehensible. I don't know how to talk about him other than just making like sort of noises. So this was a labour of love and a lot of deep thought. And even now, even like with a script and my notes, I am really struggling to have any clever, coherent thoughts. But he is just the guy. I just want to grab him and throw him at a wall and soak him in milk and stuff. And I was talking about the Sigma Suit story. So this is when he actually gets blessed by Ho-Oh. This is sort of the culmination. I've already said this. So in this story, from what I remember, Team Rocket or someone are selling like these fake Ho-Oh feathers, and he finds one and he thinks that he's finally been chosen by Ho-Oh, and it turns out it's one of these fake feathers, and he gets kind of like down about it. But instead of like getting too depressed or whatever, he kind of goes about and he helps take down Team Rocket and stops the distribution of the fake feathers. And his story ends with him meeting a shiny Ho-Oh, and oh, he finally gets the Ho-Oh that he's always wanted, and it hurts me so much because it's what he's always deserved from day one. He just needed to have all of these experiences and meet all these people. And Morty Pokemon, I love you so much. There was definitely somewhere I was going with this. I don't know how else to talk about him but other to say he has the same character arc as Twilight Sparkle. He has the same character arc as her. He goes from this like withdrawn, shut-in guy who doesn't care about the world or friendship. He cares about one thing. He cares about his goal of Ho-Oh and his training and getting stronger and his like physical strength. And then he is forced out into the world, and he meets new friends and he has new experiences and he learns and grows from all these people and places he goes and the things he sees, and it makes him into the person he is supposed to be. Like how Twilight is. Like how Twilight is a shut-in who only cares about studying, and then she gets forced to go to Ponyville and she gets all her friends, and then one thing leads to another, and now she's the princess of friendship. Who would have thought it? See, they're both purple. This is the worst video I've ever made. Pokemon Company, make merch of Morty. I have nothing. There's like characters who get everything. Like you can get a Nendoroid of Red and Lily, and you can get all these marketable plushies. You can't get anything of Morty. I get digital plushies of him in Masters EX, and that's it. I can't even get like a little badge or a keyring or anything. It's kind of gross. I am literally the Morty fan ever. Please do something for me more, please. I'm gonna leave it there because my brain feels frazzled, and I'm sure everybody at this point understands that nobody understands Morty the way I do. He is my world, he is my love, he is my best friend. I love him so very dearly. So I'll see you next time when I'm talking about something more sane.